There are hundreds of massage shops in Bangkok. Unfortunately for John, he stepped into the wrong one and it changed his life. What's up, guys? It's Greeny. This is a story about a guy named John from America and a woman named Toy from Thailand. Toy used to work at a massage shop like any one of these in Bangkok. That's the city where John met her. I'm going to get to that story in a minute, the introduction I just alluded to, but I want to tell you what made me think about this story. And this was a story that a subscriber or user had sent to me a while back, and I've been meaning to get around to tell this story. But I recently read an article in ASEAN Now about a 91-year-old German man that committed suicide. And let me just read this article to you real quick. It's kind of related, like a little bit similar, but this guy allegedly committed suicide. 91-year-old German man committed suicide. Upon arrival to the scene, police officers, along with paramedics from a nearby hospital and volunteers from Paul Tek Tong Foundation, found Mr. Arnoff slumped in his chair. He had sustained a gunshot wound to his right temple, with the bullet exiting through the left side of his skull. Paramedics administered emergency aid and quickly transported him to the nearest hospital. Despite efforts to save his life, reports confirm that he had succumbed to his injuries. A .38 caliber revolver was found at the scene with 2 spent shell casings remaining inside the chamber. According to the initial investigation, Mr. Arnoff had been under severe stress due to persistent financial demands from a Thai woman. He reportedly lost over 30 million Thai baht in the process, which allegedly contributed to his decision to take his own life. Authorities have collected the firearm and other evidence, and it's an ongoing investigation. The only thing, as far as me being a police officer back in the day, two spent casings for a suicide. Usually if you shoot yourself in the head once, did he shoot himself in the chest once, then that didn't work, he shot himself in the head? I don't know. But that's the only thing that's odd that I can see out of this situation. Before I get into the story, if you wouldn't mind just taking 10 seconds and subscribing to my channel, it really helps. It helps push out the video and obviously helps my channel. I'm getting pretty close to 40,000 subscribers. Maybe we can do it on this video. Give you about 5 more seconds. Just hit that subscribe button. All right, awesome, guys. Let's get into the story. I had to change it a little bit because I don't want to use names or locations. I had to change it up a little bit, and I kind of cleaned up the story so it reads more like a story. At the end, I'll tell you what I think could have helped avoided this situation, but this is the story. John had always considered himself a simple man. A house painter by trade, he spent 4 decades mastering the art of patience, knowing that a steady hand and attention to detail would always pay off. He worked long days, never complaining, while his wife, Barbara, raised their 3 children, Susan, Tony, and Claudia, in the quiet comfort of their modest Ohio home. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was full. After 41 years of marriage, Barbara's sudden death from lung disease left John adrift. She was 66 when she passed, and John was 70 at the time. Retirement came, but it didn't feel like the blessing that he had envisioned. His children had their own lives, and his once busy days had turned into long stretches of solitude. The house, filled with memories, felt hollow without Barbara's laughter. One night, after another quiet dinner alone, John made the decision that he would surprise everybody. He was moving to Thailand. John's children were not happy. Susan, ever the protective daughter, warned him of the risks of moving halfway around the world, especially to a country he barely knew. But John was undeterred. He had heard about the affordable living, warm weather, and the promise of a fresh start. I need a change, he told them. I need to live life a little. And so, in February of 2017, John boarded a flight bound for Bangkok, ready to embrace his new life. He rented a cozy condo in the bustling city of Bangkok. At 70, John felt alive again. Soon after settling in, John started going to a local massage shop where he met Toy. Toy was 45 years old and had a warm smile and kind eyes. At first, their interactions were light, playful exchanges of flirtation as she worked, but over time, something deeper began to form between them. By February 2018, Toy had moved into John's condo. She cared for him in ways that he hadn't realized he needed. Cooking, cleaning, making him feel warm and wanted. In June, Toy suggested that they move to her hometown in Phayao province, a quaint village far from the noise of Bangkok. We could build a house there, she said. Fresh start, away from the city. John, caught up in the romance of it all, agreed. He had saved enough money during his working years and figured a small house on the countryside was just what he needed. They bought a plot of land just outside the village where the air was clean, except for during the burning season. The land and house cost him 2.8 million baht, an investment he didn't think twice about. All the paperwork was in Toy's name. John trusted her. After all, she had been nothing but kind to him. They were married in November of 2018 at the local Ampur and celebrated their new life with a party at the house. It seemed like the perfect, happy ending to John's long life. But back in America, Susan wasn't convinced. She knew her father was stubborn, but something about the situation still unsettled her. Still, she respected his decision. They spoke weekly, and the conversations weren't as long or detailed as they used to be. Susan took comfort, though, in hearing his voice. By the fall of 2020, however, things started to change. Their calls became less and less frequent. When they did, John's voice sounded off, slurring and confused. He assured her that everything was fine and that Toy was taking good care of him. But Susan's intuition screamed otherwise. Something was wrong. By February 2021, with weeks going by without a word from her father, Susan booked a flight to Thailand. She couldn't shake the feeling that her father needed her. Alongside her husband Tony, she arrived and endured a quarantine of 2 weeks due to the pandemic at the time. When they arrived at her father's house, Susan's worst fears were confirmed. John was a shadow of the man they once knew, frail, disorientated, and weak. His eyes, once sharp, now seemed distant, lost in some haze. Toy was not welcoming. In fact, she seemed irritated by their presence. And to Susan's surprise, several of Toy's relatives were now living in the house, treating it as their own. Despite her pleas, John refused to leave with her. "This is my home now," he insisted weakly. His mind, once sharp, was clearly fading, but he clung on to his decision. During their stay, Toy cooked all the meals for Susan and Tony. After a few days, both began feeling unwell, nauseated, lightheaded, and weak. Susan's suspicions grew. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being poisoned. After 6 days, they left, returning to Bangkok to recover. Once there, the symptoms faded and her suspicions solidified. Something sinister was at play, but without hard evidence, there was little she could do. Susan and Tony headed back to the United States. Little did Susan know at the time, she would never speak to her father again. She continued to call him and no answer. In May of 2021, Susan contacted a consulate in Chiang Mai and was informed that her father had been reported dead of natural causes in March. The news hit her like a sledgehammer. How could it be that her father, so full of life just a few years ago, had passed without her even knowing? And why had Toy not reached out? Susan fought to get answers. She spoke with the Social Security Administration and found that her father's payments had continued to go into his Thai bank account after his death. She tried contacting the Thai police, hoping that an investigation would ensue. Toy's phone was also disconnected, and the woman who once had charmed her father had vanished, along with any hopes of justice. In the end, Susan estimated that her father had lost nearly 200,000 US dollars during his time in Thailand. A combination of real estate, cash, and whatever else had disappeared during those years of his life. What do you guys think? The person that had contacted me about this a while back, they were sure that crime was afoot, that they feel that Toy, or whatever the real name was, had poisoned their father, slowly, weakened him, and just in a plot to take his money, and that it was just all the long game. I guess the moral of the story is you always want to have a support system when you retire to a place like Thailand. Like, make friends, have connections with people, have people that are going to check up on you. If somebody had been checking, if he had close friends when he kind of started deteriorating and going downhill, maybe things could have been different. Maybe if he had friends in the area or knew people, you can't just go with somebody, you meet a Thai lady or somebody and just go with them. This could be any country. and just put all your faith that that person's going to take care of you. You know, you got to have a backup plan. And I think they brainwashed this guy. Even when his daughter showed up, they had him so convinced that they were taking care of him. And I mean, I guess they were, but all right, guys, that's my story. Just a quick one. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and catch you guys in the next video. Greeny out.